Guys, welcome to another episode of The Pulse. You know what we do. We're talking to people who are doing cool things. We're hearing their stories. They're on tour. They're making a difference. They use their voice for good. And today we have one of those people. So she's a comedian, political firebrand on occasion, international global traveler. Michelle Wolf, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Did I cover it?
I think so. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other things people would love to call me, but that sounded fine.
Listen, I was joking about the fact, before we got started, you are, for the course of this interview, you're holding the camera.
And the baby's using my laptop right now, so we had to punt, and this is what I'm doing.
Nice. See, that's like parental responsibility.
Yeah, it's like old Pilates training coming in, I hold a baby she's like, what, 20 some pounds? And I hold her so much of the day. So it's really, the phone's nice.
You also were like ultra marathoner or something like that, track star.
Yeah, I did an ultra marathon. I was a jumper in track. I love track and field. It's my favorite sport. Love to watch it. Ran a 50-mile race. Still try to run almost every day if I can.
We understand now why you were tough enough to handle all of this journey.
I don't melt easily. Yeah. Let's just say that.
Right. How'd you get started in comedy? Because it's I don't know if odd is the right course, but that was not, like, you weren't somebody who grew up going, I'm going to be a comedian.
I didn't even know, it didn't even occur to me that you could, get into comedy. I never even crossed my mind. I went to school for exercise science, but then ended up getting a job on Wall Street after graduation, which has nothing to do with the other, obviously. And I happened to be at Bear Stearns in 2007, which not the best time to start anywhere on Wall Street, but particularly Bear Stearns, which collapsed in March of 2008. But around that same time, my friends came to visit me. We went to a taping of SNL, and I've always been such a big fan. And I was like, how do these people start? So I Googled everybody, and they all started in improv. So I just signed up for an improv class. And then that kind of just built and built from there. And improv eventually turned into stand-up. And then, I eventually was doing well enough that I didn't need to have my day job anymore. And here we are.
Those kind of stories are always amazing to me. I'm sure there's a lot of people who go to SNL and go, I would love to do that. Like, that's very cool. There's not a lot of people who go to SNL, see it, and then say, all right, I'm out. I'm going to go do this. Let me go take some improv classes. And it actually works out. Like, you clearly recognize that is kind of that unusual path.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like, even when I started taking the improv, I was just like, I knew I really liked it, but I had no idea what it would turn into. And even then, stand-up wasn't on my mind. It wasn't like I was like, I'm going to be a stand-up, So it all kind of I just let things happen, and it all worked out very, very well. Before it did work out, I was like working a full-time job at an investment bank, and I'd get up, I'd be at work at 7, I'd leave at 7, I'd do improv, I'd go see shows, get back at maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, and then start it all over again. It was definitely a young person's game.
What does your family say when you're like, I'm going to leave? I mean, Bear Stearns, so that may have helped the push, but I'm leaving this career path and benefits and financial services, and I'm going to go do comedy because I went to SNL. Like, how does that go over with the people who love you?
I think my family knows me well enough that I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And, I'm everything I've done, I've always had, it's been thought out. I'm not just did improv for the first time and then left my job. It was no, I was a lot of years and a lot of work, and things were heading in an upward direction. And it made sense to leave the job when I left the job. I think I was more worried than they were. I was more I think they were if it doesn't work out, she'll just get another job.
What's that big break? When is okay, I'm going to do this as a career?
So I was doing more and more stand-up, and at the time I was working for this computational biochemistry research lab. I did less and less work at this job until I got fired, which was difficult for me. But then as you know, a people pleaser. But then this company is very nice and they paid severance. So I had, with savings and severance, like enough to like live off for like a year. Mm-hmm. And I did as much stand-up as I possibly could in that year. That was January 2013. And then January 2014, I got hired to write at Late Night with Seth Meyers.
But that's largely taking off behind the scenes, right?
Not only did I work at Late Night Seth, I also did my first late night set on TV there. Eventually, I got cast at the Comedy Cellar in New York, and I was there all the time. I started to meet all the greats. And then in 2016, I got hired at The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. So I moved over to The Daily Show where I was a writer and like a contributor. So I did a lot of on-screen stuff there. And I started touring. I went on tour with Louis C.K. Chris Rock hired me to write for the Oscars. And then I went on tour with Chris Rock. I was making enough money at stand-up in that point that I didn't need the day job anymore. Like I didn't need to have a writing job. And then I did the White House Correspondents Dinner.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Coming up, who knew that the controversy of speaking at the White House Correspondents Dinner could actually take her career to the next level?
Afterwards, people got mad, but all of comedy had my back.
Still relatively new to this. Like you're only 5 years in. So what was that like?
I honestly, like, as far as roast jokes go, I think I was pretty tame. I mean, I think at this point we've all seen like the Tom Brady roast and you see how tough those jokes are, like I think mine were pretty tame. I think what happened is I called out their media for like their kind of complicity in all of this. The fact that they say they don't like Trump, but they actually really do. He makes them a lot of money. It's good TV for them.
Right.
And I called them out on that. And in order to distract from that portion of the show, they said that I made fun of Sarah Sanders' looks, which I didn't.
No, and I went back actually and looked at it. And the jokes were about whether or not she has any integrity and tells the truth.
Right.
There was not much about her appearance other than she, wore lies as eye makeup.
Right. She burns facts and uses the ash to make a perfect smoky eye, which is honestly a compliment. I never once said she looked bad. And she does what a press secretary does. She spin.
Right. But this blew up.
Yeah, it blew up. I mean, I knew what I was doing going in, and I was very confident in it. And I think it's aging very well. I don't think I've been proved wrong at all. And also it's like, afterwards, people got mad, but all of comedy had my back. Right. Every comic was like, she was right. She did the good thing. Like, she was not off at all. You hired her to do this. Like, she did the job. The jokes were good. So that's how you really know that, like, okay, not only was I happy with it, my peers all supported me, which meant the world.
I work in the media, so full disclosure. Do you so you believe that was more of the media having an issue with you holding us accountable for not doing our jobs than it was actually issues with the jokes?
100%. 100% thinks that's what it was. Yeah.
So after this happens, again, lines drawn, there are people, the likes of Dave Chappelle and others come to your defense, and some huge names come to your defense, and some in the media, huge names came to your defense. But now you're globally on the stage. You were labeled by some media as the voice that we needed, in some levels holding us accountable. So you still kind of embrace that and own that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think like the best thing a comedian can do is like, it's the whole like, truth to power. And you can say the things that other people might not be able to say, and you have the latitude to do it. I think where people get confused is that they're like, I can say anything I want. And it's like, you can, it just has to be funny enough. But there's this kind of movement right now where people are like, they pretend like they're anti-establishment, but they're not. They're just supporting a different side. I mean, I think we've been able to see in the last couple weeks that like the whole system is not working for the people. The government, whatever side you're on, I mean, they say a lot of nice things, but what's actually getting done on either side? And I think that, it's comedians who can, we have the latitude to say the things we can say. And I think you don't have to talk about it if that's not your jam, and you want to talk about like, just stuff that happens during your day, whatever, that's fine. But like, if you can and you want to talk about it,
You should.
I don't know. I like to do it. I like to disrupt things. I like to tell people what I really think.
And you have the platform to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think there's a lot of people that like, it's like in hip hop they talk about conscious rappers, and I think that those are like, those performances can be really meaningful, and what they're saying in their songs is like really powerful. And we can do similar things except in comedy. And if you have the ability to do it, then you should.
Coming up, she talks about how she's using her comedy to actually hold us in the media accountable.
I think part of the reason why all these candidates went on these podcasts is because a lot of society has lost confidence in the news media.
You're coming to Philadelphia, Punchline Philly, for a couple of shows, November 21st through the 23rd. There are some tickets available, but they go very quickly. What are we going to see from a Michelle Wolf show?
Well, I mean, I have a baby now, so a lot of my set right now is talking about, being a mom, being a working mom, and just what that's like, how it's like in society to kind of move through that, and my experiences with it. But also, I have like some new stuff I'm working on that I'm excited about. Just I don't know, continuing to kind of like push myself and develop my point of view. I just spent 2 weeks in Ireland, and I feel like, doing shows and touring. And I feel like that kind of opened me up to even some more new ideas that, I'm having fun on stage. I'm having fun. I feel like I'm more and more like kind of getting into like, okay, this is who I really am. Like, these are like my thoughts, and, it's not for everybody for sure, but if it's for you, I think you'll like it. I like to make people laugh, and I like to make people think, and but it's a good time.
Did you ever think, let's look back a little bit, you're working in financial services, market collapse, the SNL thing, I'm going to learn improv. 5 years later, you're at the White House Correspondents Dinner, you're internationally being discussed. Now you're on tour. Could you even fathom that something like this could happen when you started this?
Absolutely not. Like, I never would have thought this is all would have happened. I mean, I'm so grateful that it has, but like, this is like, it's beyond my dreams. It's so cool. It's really like, it's been an amazing experience. And I'm like, I don't take it for granted at all. I think I'm really, really lucky to be able to do what I do, to do a job that I really love. And, like, be able to provide for like my family because of it. So it's amazing. And I'm sure I would have made a lot of money if I continued to work on Wall Street, but I might have really hated my life.
After sitting back and seeing everything that has gone on, you've been involved in the political kind of changing the climate, holding the media accountable. It has evolved. But do you think we still need that message?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's like, I even saw within the past couple of days, it's like Trump's been reelected, and it's almost like it, as far as like the kind of more liberal media stations go, I really think they're kind of having a field day with all this new, controversy. And I think there's obviously you need to report what's happening, but the difference is reporting what's happening versus having, panels and opinions, and, it becomes editorial rather than actually objective. And I think part of the reason why all these candidates went on these podcasts is because a lot of society has lost confidence in the news media. So they get their information from, podcast bros who might not even ask a hard question. It's a tough time to be in the news and, actually have people believe you.
Maybe I stand alone in the media. I'm okay with people holding up the mirror and making us hold ourselves accountable. I mean, we're we are here. And if you're going to be here, then there are certain responsibilities that come with it. So good for you. I don't mean to sound patronizing, but I will take it and sit back and reflect. And I think we all should.
It's a big responsibility to be a journalist. And, but it's become more entertainment a lot of times than it has. The clips about policy are not nearly as exciting or don't get as many clicks and likes as, the clips about someone calling someone a name on live television, so.
Apparently it's a big responsibility being a comedian as well.
For sure. And I think comics, at the end of the day, it's you can talk about, just make it real funny, man. If you're going to make fun of something and just don't make it hacky. Hold yourself to the same. I like to try to hold myself to the same standards that I hold other people to. Whatever I want to say, it's got to be funny. And it's I don't really have a line, but my objective is you got to make people laugh.
What does use your voice for good mean to you?
I think it means if you can speak out for the people that can't speak out.
We end every episode of The Pulse the same way, and that is the concept of use your voice for good. We ask everybody who have these platforms, when they hear that phrase, what does use your voice for good mean to you?
I think it means if you can speak out for the people that can't speak out, very much put stuff on your social media and, if as a comic, if you want to bring joy to people, bring joy to people. If you have something to say, try to speak for the people that don't have a voice.
Michelle Wolf, she'll be at Punchline Philly November 21st through the 3rd. She is touring, so follow her on social, Google, all of those things to find out exactly where she will be.
Thanks. I also have a stupid new podcast called Thoughtbox. I finally gave into the podcast world, so if you like to hear me ramble for 45 minutes to an hour, boy, is it for you.
As we wrap up, you held the phone or whatever for the entire 30 minutes.
The whole time, baby.
Unwavering. You're going to flex on them. Guys, thanks so much for watching The Pulse with Bill Anderson. Today with comedian and podcast host, we now found out, Michelle Wolf. It's interesting talking to her because her career really took off in the midst of some controversy and reflection. And I love talking to people like that and hearing their perspective. I hope you enjoy the conversation as well. A reminder that you can always listen to the entire unedited discussion, all places where podcasts are available. Just go ahead and check them out. And make sure you download the Fox Local app. All of our shows, 100+ episodes, are right there at your fingertips on demand on the Fox Local app. And you can hit me up on social media at Bill A. Fox29. Thank you so much. Loved speaking with you and them. And I leave you today, as I always do, reminding you whenever you can, use your voice for good and have a good one.